What's good? It's your boy Fanon. Man, I'm telling you, this time I'm going to do a conversation, man, that I love to have, man. It's when Andre Ward is talking, man. I'm telling you, that's one of my favorite fighters and favorite people in the boxing world. Very, very mature. Always carried himself with great dignity and intelligence and, and as a warrior in the ring. And I just think very highly of him, man. Definitely one of my favorite fighters ever. And so when he talks and says something that, I like to listen. And in this one, I'm going to talk about it. Now, before I get to that, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button or dislike button, depending on how you feel about the subject. And hit the bell icon. I'm trying to do more live streams, like a live stream for every 2 videos that I do. And the best way to know that the live streams and be able to actually participate on the channel is if you get the notification that comes with hitting that bell icon. Also, whatever articles and things that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to share in my Twitter feed because I've adopted Twitter as a secondary means to communicate. And so if you can do that, that'd be cool. Now, on to the subject matter at hand. I listened to a couple things happen with Andre Ward last night after the HBO fight card last night. And I'll talk about the HBO fight card last night as well, man. HBO is like, man, if they're not dead, man, they are just on there. They're like on life support, man. I'm telling you, that channel has really just gone and hit rock bottom, man. Floyd, I'll do a video at some point in time about how Floyd leaving there and all that nonsense really just tanked Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy, and as a result, really tanked HBO, man. There was a couple good fights on there, but anyway, so after the fight, however, Andre Ward was asked a question by several of the reporters about, one, he talked about Sergey Kovalev, and the other, he talked about the welterweight division. And he's talking about, was asked about Sean Porter and what he thought about the fact that Sean Porter had got into the ring against Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios and really started calling everybody out, right? So Andre Ward said, look, he doesn't understand. He never had seen Sean Porter act like that. But more than likely, he's trying to do it because he feels like he has to get loud in order to get a bout. So, that's probably what he was on. He's just trying to make some noise and get some interest, generate some conversation. And I got to tell you, man, from my perspective, that's worked. Because I know I've made several videos about Sean Porter that I probably wouldn't have if he hadn't done that. But at the same time, I'm not sure if all press is good press. Regardless, then he talks about the rest of the welterweight division. And he's like, look, these guys he's like, it's so stacked. It's so hot at the welterweight division that these guys really need to fight. And then he compared himself to the other champions and his mentality in the welterweight division. And I have to think, man, now he's being real. Here I'm going to do a little mess around a little bit and take his finger and point it at somebody. Because the only real couple dudes that it could apply to were Keith Thurman. It really is Keith Thurman. And he also talked about Terrence Crawford. So he said, when it was him, he felt that if somebody was in his weight class, he said he's feeling a tune-up or whatever. He's down. He said he's down with tune-ups or whatever. So he's clearly talking about Keith Thurman. But he's like, if there's somebody in the division where somebody says, no, that's the man, then I want to get him. He's going to say, look, man, all that other stuff aside, all that boxing aside, if you the man on the block and I'm the man on the block, you're going to have to see me. I'm going to have to see you and you're going to have to see me. And that was his mentality about talking about the welterweight division. Like I said, the only cat that he could possibly, the guy that fits that the best is Keith Thurman. Where basically, because if you take what he's saying and you apply it to all the different champions, Errol Spence Jr. ain't looking for a tune-up. He's looking for the best fight. Keith Thurman is the one that's has the elbow injury and needs to was talking about he needs a warm-up or a tune-up or whatever. But man, he's dead on point about the fact that these guys, at the end of the day, belts or no belts, man, you guys need to get in the ring and make it happen. And the best man will win and come up out on top of it, man. And so the other side of what he spoke about was And I really like this. He said the fight that everybody's probably sleeping on the most in boxing, one of them is Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford. And saying, man, on the quiet, that's probably one of the best fights in all of boxing. Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Now, neither one of those guys are on the network that Andre Ward was covering. And then, honestly, man, Andre Ward did a great job last night. I really did enjoy listening to him talk boxing, man, on that fight. That's the best thing about that fight card to me. Some of the fights were good. But anyway, so yeah, man, he's pretty much putting the welterweight division on blast, and I think that that's about right. Andre Ward jumped into a tournament with the Super 6 tournament and beat everybody in that tournament, and he wasn't the cat that was supposed to win that. To me, I didn't understand at the time why people say he wasn't the favorite to win it. You know, maybe that was I just didn't know Carl Froch as well, or Mikkel Kessler as well as some other people, or Arthur Abram as well as some other people, but other people who might, outside the United States might have known him. But having seen Andre Ward in the Olympics and knowing this guy won a light heavyweight championship, but really he was a middleweight. Dude was a middleweight. And the reason, if I recall correctly, the reason he moved up from middleweight to light heavyweight was because they wanted Andre Durrell, in order to allow Andre Durrell to make the Olympic team. So he moves up to 175 pounds and wins a gold medal, a weight division up from where he could have fought. He could have taken the easy road out and just said, hey, Andre, I'll catch you later, my man. Maybe you can go down to the weight class below, or maybe you move up to 168. He didn't do that. He was like, look, all right, I think I can beat all these guys. And he went up and got the gold medal. Andre Ward did the same thing, moving up to 175 and seeking out the guy you have on the screen, you see on the screen right here. And that's why I love Andre Ward as a fighter. Not just as a fighter, the way that he carries himself outside the ring, the values that he espouses. And you can just see that he's not a guy that just talks about it. It's a guy that really is about it. Is a world-class athlete, and boxing is less. Boxing is less for him having retired, man. But it's also better for having him in the commentary booth. So I'm really happy to see he's there, though. But he, without a doubt, in that statement, put the spotlight on the welterweight division, and Keith Thurman specifically, in my opinion. Now, I've been saying this a bunch of times, man. I don't think that Keith Thurman, from what he's done in the ring, has, done anything really to deserve a lot of criticism, because he has fought the guys that were in front of him. It's just, for me, it's the way that he talks about it. But then the other subject that he talked about really was, because we know that there's a Sergey Kovalev bout coming up next week, and Radio Raheem came out with an article on BoxingScene.com today where Andre Ward talked about Sergey Kovalev. And the title of the article is Andre Ward to Kovalev, Grow Up and Accept What Happened. So I love Andre Ward, man. That dude be coming straight with it, man. In a polite and professional manner. Okay, in the last week, WBO light welterweight champion Sergey Kovalev and former unified belt holder Andre Ward have once again been trading words on social media. Ward survived an early knockdown to win a razor-thin 12-round unanimous decision over Kovalev in their first meeting, which took place in November of 2016. And then Ward scored a TKO win over Kovalev in their June 17th rematch. Both fights were held in Las Vegas and carried on HBO pay-per-view. A few months following the second win over Kovalev, Ward unexpectedly announced his retirement from the sport. Kovalev still strongly believes that he was robbed on the cards in the first fight and felt the referee was careless in the rematch by waving off the fight instead of penalizing Ward for allegedly punching him numerous times below the belt. Ward believes Kovalev is spending too much time dwelling about the past and needs to move on with his career. Everything is documented. Go back and look at all of the excuses. It's embarrassing to me. Taking myself out of the equation. If I promoted him, or I was a fan of him, this is no disrespect to the dude, but you have to grow up and own what happened. Because if you don't, if you keep fighting long enough, you are going to find yourself in the same situation where things are not going your way. And if you haven't acknowledged it and you haven't improved, you're going to find yourself making the same decisions where you're going to tap out, and it's going to be everybody else's fault except yours. Ward explained to BoxingScene.com. I've been doing this for 23 years, and that's typically how it happens. When a guy like myself, who is not touted to win, and I'm dealing with a guy who's supposed to be the boogeyman, when you remove that armor and you do what you're supposed to do, and you do it in the fashion that I did it, this is to be expected. Kovalev, who returns next Saturday night against Igor Mikhalkin at Madison Square Garden in New York City, wants a trilogy fight with the retired Ward. I think he has a lot of heat sitting in front of him with the light heavyweight division as a whole. Demetrius Bivol is one guy. If I'm not mistaken, Kovalev has a fight next week. He really should not be talking about Andre Ward because I'm retired, Ward said. So, I mean, what else can you say? What else can you say? And I think that that's something that a lot of fighters can learn from, man. This dude, Kovalev, first of all, besides being one of the biggest jackasses in the sport of boxing and that I can remember. And honestly, man, I don't really go in or say that I try my best to be as respectful as I possibly can be with boxers. And not, for example, with, Keith Thurman, I'd like to hear Keith Thurman get in the ring. I'd like to see Keith Thurman get in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. But I'm not going to say that I don't understand what Keith Thurman is going through or what Keith Thurman had, that Keith Thurman has a point in that he needs to be able to rehab his shoulder, and that, there hasn't been a period of time where Keith Thurman has fought top competition. His last two fights were definitely against guys that deserve title shots in Sean Porter and Danny Garcia. He fought Robert Guerrero, who was a solid competition, and he, for the majority of the early part of his career, up until maybe 2 years ago, was looking to really had his whole heart set on getting a fight with either Manny Pacquiao or Floyd Mayweather. But now that the Floyd Mayweather Jr. Lottery is closed shop, then now he's got to understand that it's now the Keith Thurman lottery. Now the lottery, it's going to take some time for that lottery to build up some money, right? It might be why I don't play the lottery, but it might want to be one of those little cheaper cards, where you go and you might get about $2 million out of it, right? But you might get a belt. That's what you get. You do the scratch thing, and you get the belt. It's not going to be the type of lottery or lotto, depending on the state that you're in, where you're going to get, what you would have gotten for beating Floyd Mayweather Jr., which could be pay-per-view, $10, $15 million fights, and you being the man and all of that stuff or $5, $6 million for fighting him, $10 million for fighting him. You're not going to be able to get that, right? That lottery's gone. But I understand. I can't say the same thing for Sergey Kovalev. Before Sergey Kovalev got to be the 175-pound champion, he's acting like a jack. The comments that the dude made about, I'm not going to forget the comments he made about Adonis Stevenson. I'm not going to forget the comments that he made about the thoroughbred, whatever he called the first guy that beat him, right? Or the first guy that made him have a draw, right? Or the things, if he hadn't said those things, what he said about the cat from Canada, I wouldn't, Jean Pascal, I wouldn't even have thought twice about it. But having known and seen the things that he said about other people, I'm like, all right, maybe that is maybe he is being, that way towards Jean Pascal. And then you move on to the fight with Andre Ward, and you've got more of that stuff going on with Andre Ward, saying more things, more comments that is like, man, what is this dude doing, man? And then he loses the fight. He got a knockdown, but he lost the fight. He lost the entire second half of that fight. Straight out lost at least the last 6 rounds. I thought Andre Ward got one of the first before the knockdown. But Andre Ward he won. And then he did all this talking about how Andre Ward was not going to get how he was scared and he wasn't going to give him a rematch and all that. And then Andre pulled his card. I didn't even want Andre Ward to give him a rematch. But Andre Ward pulls his card. It says, okay, you can have a rematch. And then he tells him straight to his face what he's going to do to him in the rematch. All that drama about his coach trying to leave. I believed every word they said about that John David Jackson said. John David Jackson was snitching, and probably was violating the code of the boxer. I don't know, your boxer trainer privilege. Keeping those type of things confidential. But hey, man, I believed every word he said about the guy. Because Sergey Kovalev had to do something in order to get him that upset. And you have people just open secret that you are disrespecting to and not listen to a guy that's trying to help you win the fight. And then he gets beat up in a rematch. Beat up. As many people as want to act like it was because of low blows that he got stopped. No, it was that right hand that wobbled you. It's because of Andre Ward doing what he did describe very clearly in the fight between, which was honestly, man, this is the highlight of the fight for me, of the whole card last night, was when Andre Ward was talking about what, who was the guy who was fighting Roy Vasai, Cescrit Roy Vasai. I think it was Estrada, Juan Francisco Estrada. Is that the guy that was fighting? Anyway, he was like, look, this guy's got to get in. He's advising him, look, you got this guy with all this power. You got to move in. You got to get close to him. You got to neutralize his power, get up close to him. If you keep staying out on that range like that, you're going to get hit. So that was a technique that Andre Ward was explaining on live time, watching it happen, which was exactly what he had displayed in July of last year when he did the same thing to Sergey Kovalev. Got up inside him, beat him up. Got in there and beat him up. But did Andre Ward get any type of credit for that win from people who were, just blindly following, believing whatever about Sergey Kovalev? Not really. It's excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse. And now you have other guys saying they gave him a touch fight, right? And this is, other people are enabling Sergey Kovalev as well. You have ESPN that still has this guy. How in the world, I don't know, but they still have him in the top 10, their top 10 pound for pound fighters in the world. How are you top 10 pound for pound fighter in the world when you lost 2 times to a guy moving up in weight to beat you? But somehow he's still there, still up there as the crusher. He's the crushed. And he's acting as if he wants to still get with Andre Ward. Andre Ward is a retired fighter, man. You sit on those L's, man. Like I said, there's not too many boxers that I feel like personally, where I'm like, I don't like this guy. This guy is somebody that should not, honestly, this is a guy that should not be propped up in the media at all because of the things that he said just about black people. He shouldn't be propped up. But hey, HBO, that's cool with them. Not a word. If there was a word, it dang sure ain't stopped them from putting them on his channel. But hey, man, they gonna ahead and run with it. I'm quite sure that Sergey Kovalev he'll probably beat this McCallican guy. I gotta check it out. But as he goes down the road, eventually somebody's gonna get in that mid-range and start taxing him up. And Andre Ward's 100% right. If he doesn't understand that he needs to get better, you're going to keep making the same mistake, man. And that happens everywhere in life. And that's why I like Andre Ward, man. That's a young man who, for me, you can learn life lessons from people that really have their head on straight, who are very mature people. And Andre Ward's talking a very, very true life lesson. If you don't accept your mistakes, you can never improve them. If you keep thinking that it's somebody else's fault that you didn't get the grades you wanted in class, or like Adrian Bronner, it's somebody else's fault that you got arrested for the ninth time in the last 2 years. Oh, that girl's just making it up, right? Oh, she just wanted a picture. I don't want to take a picture with her. That's why I'm arrested for the ninth time in 2 years, right? If Adrian Bronner doesn't accept that he's an idiot, that he's behaving like an idiot, he's going to continue to do that. Same thing for Gervonta Davis. If Gervonta Davis doesn't accept that he needs to grow up and he didn't have no business, if he can say he didn't hit anybody or whatever, okay. But we'll see. One time, shame on them. 2 times, shame on you. Andre Ward, Adrian Bronner, it's 9 times shame on him. You know what I mean? 9 times shame on him. And we're going to see whether or not Sergey Kovalev, it winds up being that situation with him too. Because that whooping, those pretty deep 175-pound division saw him get knocked out. And with that, anyway, I'm out. Peace.